Coming up on show 804, Tesla's battery partner says the million-mile battery is ready to produce. Stick around and I'll tell you more. Plus on the podcast today, Ford revealing their Escape/Cougar plug-in hybrid. The price and the range revealed. It's all change at the top of Volkswagen. China's BYD and Jaguar Land Rover could be joining forces. I will tell you how and why in detail today, and the all-new electric Fiat 500 in non-soft top version is now available to order. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily for Tuesday, 9th of June. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story so you don't have to. Do some window shopping online if you want to at myev.com. They have, for a couple of years now, supported the podcast and helped me make the show. Thank you very much to the gang there in Miami. And they're building a great marketplace all about EVs. Got to have a plug socket on to make it through the doors at myev.com. Totally free, by the way, and simplifying buying and selling. An exceptionally brilliant idea. Welcome to a new executive producer of the podcast via Patreon. You, Richard Lipinski. Thank you very much for being a new executive producer of this show. It seems like every day we're reading out a new name and somebody else that wants to help financially support, like, one or two posh coffees a month. Maybe you're not having those because of less traveling and commuting, and if you're looking to support creators, you can do that with Patreon as a way to support the projects that you believe in and are interested in. So the headline story today, the leadership of Tesla's battery partner in China, CATL, says they're helping to develop a 1 million mile battery that is now ready to produce. Zeng Yuqun, the chairman of CATL, which is a big battery company in China, says that they now have the capability of making the battery pack that can last for 16 years, which would on average power an electric vehicle for 1.24 million miles. That's right, they are confident they can make a battery that will go through that many charging cycles. And if you're new to the podcast, I'll just decipher that little catchphrase very, very quickly. So a charging cycle is from, for ease of giving the definition, from 100% down to 0, and then you charge it back up again. So it's a bit like, well, actually, it's quite analogous to driving a petrol car. Like the way that I used to drive petrol cars was I'd put a full tank, well, when I could afford to, when I was skint, I'd put 10 quid in and make it last. But then, when I got a better job, I would put a tank of petrol in, up to the very top, I'd run it down till the red light came on, and then I would fill it back up again. And with a battery, that would be a charge cycle. There are nuances, don't pick me up on that. However, this is all about how many times you can do that to a battery. They call it a million-mile battery because it's become a bit of a buzzword, a bit of a catchphrase. However, it would be more accurate to describe it in charge cycles, but we call it the million-mile battery. And now CATL saying 1.24 million miles. According to Newsweek, the company, along with Tesla, signed an agreement recently for a 2-year supply of batteries. Back in February earlier this year, they'll be supplying Tesla for their standard range Plus Model 3, and the technology will be incorporated into the Model 3 in Chinese gigafactory to begin with, but we'll find out more with Tesla's Battery Day to see where else this technology, this chemistry might go. On Elon Musk, he said, and I quote, "We're getting along well. He's a fun guy. He's talking about cost all day long, and I'm making sure we have the solutions," end quote. And sometimes just a single phrase can give you a huge insight into things like that. And that phrase that Elon is talking about cost all day long, that, you could skim over that, you could read it and think that's interesting. Really think about that. If that's Elon's focus, if every meeting that you're having with Elon Musk is coming back to cost, let's get the cost down, let's lower the cost. Obviously, they want to make their margins, right? So Tesla want to make money, but ultimately, this is about producing a battery that may not be as high performance as the batteries that are going into their top cars, but for the first time, Tesla having a different battery supplier supplying a battery that, okay, you maybe lose a little bit of performance, but you are able to make it at less cost and with some more cells inside the car, or even cell to pack technology, meaning that you can get the same range as more expensive chemistry and technology. Elon is clearly beating them really hard over the head about cost. When I read that, it just I don't know. I think people would miss it. For me, that's just like there should be rings around that. It should be flashing in neon. Elon is talking about cost all day long. Wow. It's a good sign, right? That's his focus. They know they can make great cars, but now let's make the cars cheaper. Interesting stuff, right? Okay, let's move on. Well, Ford announced its first new plug-in hybrid model for the US market, the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which earlier this year was launched in Europe as the Ford Kuga plug-in hybrid. The Escape might be one of the top-selling plug-in hybrids and a major competitor to things like the Toyota RAV4 Prime I was talking to you about recently. It will start at less than $35,000 MSRP before destination charges, and it will be eligible for the federal tax credit of over $6,700, says Inside EVs. The EPA estimated all-electric range, 37 miles. Not bad. The RAV4 Prime, we were told recently, was 42 miles, but if you go on to, as has subsequently come to light, if you go onto Toyota's website, it actually says 39, not 42, even though the press release that I saw said 42 miles. Look, we're splitting hairs here, but it's interesting because all of a sudden, the Ford doing 37, the RAV4 Prime doing 39, it puts it a little bit closer, same kind of ballpark, rather than that psychological 40 barrier, whereas I thought the RAV4 Prime was going to do more than 40. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe the website had a typo on it. Maybe they need to increase it. The battery pack in the Ford is 14.4 kilowatt hours, and it's installed under the second row seats. Ford's Chief Product Development Officer is Huai Taitang, and he said, and I quote, "The original Ford Escape was the world's first hybrid SUV, and the all-new Ford Escape plug-in hybrid represents how far we've come in technology and efficiency. The all-new Escape plug-in has more power and more passenger space than the Fusion Energy plug-in, as well as 4 times the cargo volume behind its second-row seats. Escape also has an additional 11 miles of all-electric driving range before it uses a drop of gas." I'll pop a link to Inside EVs in the show notes if you'd like to read more. Big change at the top. Politics definitely at play today in a company that is moving to EVs in a big way, and that would be VW. Ralf Brandstatter is Volkswagen's new CEO of the VW brand, and he's had a promotion over his previous role as the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. He takes over the role from Herbert Diess. Now, Herbert Diess is currently the CEO of the VW brand and the VW Group as a whole, which, I must admit, even for a superhuman manager, is a big job. Running VW, as in the cars that have the VW badge on the front, and running the group as a whole, that's Herculean, that task. Well, according to Motor1.com, the company's board positions this change as letting Herbert Diess put a greater emphasis on running the business, rather than splitting his focus. The shake-up comes amid VW having problems in Europe. The company had to actually halt deliveries of the all-new Golf because of an issue with the software around emergency calling, which is mandated here in Europe, so it has to work. The problem affected 15,000 cars that they'd already made and delivered to customers. Also, rumours about problems with the software suite, and I would say they're actually more than rumours now because VW have addressed them themselves. Jürgen Stackmann, who is a member of the board of management, I think it's called, of VW, put a Twitter video out a couple of weeks ago. I played you the audio on this podcast where he directly addressed it and said, let me talk about the software. Yes, it will be ready for summer. And that issue won't go away for VW until, I guess, the cars are out in the hands of customers. But many people saying this hasn't been good. Good publicity, good PR, good for Herbert Diess's career, and the exact nature of the issue isn't clear. Elements within the system are rumoured to not be communicating with each other, and over 10,000 technicians working to solve the problem. I've read some pretty rough quotes over the VW software along the lines of delete every line of code and start again. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and they say they're going to be delivering ID3s this summer. We're in June. Summer's what, June, July, August? Let's see when they deliver them and what software is in the cars when they deliver them. Let's let them get it on before anyone criticises them. Well, the German news site Spiegel.de reports, and this is in German, so I've used Google Translate. There is also a problem with the ID3 with which VW wants to build their Golf successor. a series with billions of dollars of investment. The model built in Zwickau, which is to be ordered from or delivered from mid-June, will initially only come with a slimmed-down range of functions because of software delays. That's what the German news site reckons, and I really hope it's not true, because I think it would be, on balance, and I'm not the one having to deliver the cars, but on balance, delivering the ID3 half-baked, I think would be a mistake. Better to give it another couple of months in the oven, let the engineers finish it, and better to apologise for delays. Look, it hasn't harmed Tesla, has it? And it would be better than those YouTube videos, those review videos, or the news sites. Just people getting in the car and putting, just what would undoubtedly be fixed in time. First impressions really count, but they know what they're doing. My personal opinion, I'd like it to be right from the get-go. If they deliver a car that isn't the finished product, I don't know, I think it harms VW. Interesting, isn't it? It doesn't harm Tesla because they've got a reputation for it. Tesla calls so many of their features beta. They always say, this is a work in progress. We're a new car company. The people who buy those cars are forgiving. VW, different ball game. I really wish them, whatever they decide to do, I wish them all the best for that. I can't wait to get behind the wheel of a VW ID3. I'm really excited. I'm more excited for the ID4, to be honest with you. I think it's a better, a bigger car in a better shape. Moving on. Right, Chinese EV and battery maker BYD is in talks with Jaguar Land Rover to supply automotive batteries from a new UK battery plant. A source with knowledge of the situation told Automotive News Europe. Well, the Jaguar Land Rover CEO Ralph Speth has previously said the UK must have its own battery cell production operated independently of Jaguar Land Rover. The UK would be BYD's first European battery cell factory, but the company is looking at other European locations, the source said. Jaguar Land Rover currently sells the I-Pace, which isn't even built really by them. It's built by an Austrian company called Magna in small numbers. It plans to produce a fully electric version of the XJ at the Castle Bromwich factory in England. And would you build a big manufacturing facility in the UK at the moment? Big question mark over that, with, again, very high-level politics with the Brexit talks going on. Who knows what borders are going to be like by the end of the year? If you can't get goods in and out, would you risk it, or would you stay on mainland Europe? Depends, as always, what sort of incentives the government and regional levels can do, because that could swing it as well if they can either get some land or maybe some extra incentives to build the battery plants here. It would be amazing news. Obviously, I'm very, very proud of my country, and I would love to have some battery production here as well for BYD. Okay, let's talk wireless charging and an update to wireless charging in cars. Actually, a variety of vehicles as well. Could be the next gold rush in EVs. Witricity is a company at the heart of all this. They're charging coils, which China recently chose for their national wireless standard back in May, can reach parked cars and SUVs up to 10 inches away. So very high ground clearance for trucks as well, says CNBC. Charging vehicles in motion is on the table with existing technology too. I've seen an increasing amount of articles get published recently where a car on the carriageway at a constant speed can charge wirelessly. For instance, Qualcomm Halo, which Witricity acquired last year, has a 300-foot test track in France that can charge cars at highway speeds. There's an Israeli startup, Electrion, electrifying stretches of road in Israel and Sweden. And if car makers want to settle on one standard that's omnipresent, automatic car charging stations would all use one standard, it would mean that EVs can go further on smaller batteries, which is kind of the holy grail, actually. Reminiscent of Tesla's, not Tesla the company, but Nikola Tesla. He imagined fuel-free planes. This was back in the early 1900s. Was talking about a vision for the future where planes are fuel-free. Hands-free charging will also grow more essential if cars are autonomous, since they won't be able to plug themselves in. If you want to read the rest of that article on CNBC, I'll pop a link in the show notes for you to read more. Mention this at the start of the show, the all-new Fiat 500 Electric is available to order in hatchback form, the La Prima. version of the hatchback made its debut today. That follows the successful launch of the Fiat 500 La Prima convertible back in March. Well, the new hatchback version, including the fitment of an easy wall box if you haven't got a charger at home, in this country at least it'll set you back £27,000. That's after you take off the government plug-in car grant. Lithium-ion batteries in there of 42 kilowatt hours. It's a pretty good size. The car, of course, looks like any other Fiat 500, but has been designed from the ground up to be an EV. Range of 199 miles on a 42 kilowatt hour battery for a small city car is about right. I reckon you could probably get that over 200 with careful use of the right foot. It's got an 85 kilowatt fast charger, or it will fast charge at 85 kilowatts, I should say, and on a DC fast charger. The new Fiat 500 has an 11 kilowatt onboard AC charger, which is pretty nice actually. Nice bump from the usual 7. It's got a thing called Sherpa mode, which will optimize available resources. Things like the maximum speed will be 50 miles an hour. Accelerator response is dulled, and the climate control and heated seats are turned off in Sherpa mode to get you to your destination if you are running short of electrons. The electric motor is 87 kilowatts in power. It'll do 93 miles an hour, 0 to 62 in 9 seconds. And the new Fiat 500, whether it's the convertible or the hatchback, is the first car coming out of Fiat Chrysler, FCA, to be equipped with their new infotainment systems. It's their connected platform for all future cars, and the EV is the first one with it. It's got Apple CarPlay, it's got Android Auto, it can be used in wireless mode, it's got the app on your phone so you can check the battery charge level, you can schedule your charging, you can find out the location of the car, you can lock and unlock the doors, you can set the climate control system all from your app as well, which is a very welcome move forward. Okay, let's talk Mercedes-Benz. And Mercedes-Benz have got some cars coming out with a plug-in hybrid system that I think are going to be ridiculously popular, maybe with company car drivers as well. There's the CLA 250, there's the CLA 250 Shooting Brake, and the B250. All of those are plug-in hybrids available to order now. The GLA is a plug-in hybrid as well, and that comes a couple of weeks' time. A review from Auto Express of the GLA I read recently called the plug-in hybrid powertrain hybrid motoring at its best. Wow. For many prospective buyers, that'll be the GLA they go for. It's got all-electric running at top speeds of 86 miles an hour. It'll do 38 miles on EV power alone. Joining electrified versions of the CLA and CLA Shooting Brake is the GLA 250, and that is going to go up against cars like the BMW X1, the X2, the Volvo XC40. And the battery pack on that, 15.6 kilowatt hours, and it's even got DC fast charging on it. They've put a, I think, CCS combo plug on the side. The last time I read about this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll charge at 24 kilowatts, which is not, mega fast, but for a plug-in hybrid, trust me, that's really, really good. Okay, moving on. Oh no, the Mercedes-Benz B250, I mentioned a minute ago, is also on sale now. First deliveries in summer, and it starts at £35,000. Again, these aren't cheap cars, but actually with 30 to 40 miles of range on EV power, and actually because you can do motorway speeds, we do 86 and the speed limit here is 70, so you can do easily motorway speeds, and it'll chomp through your battery in no time doing that. But you chances are, if you need to go on the motorway a couple of junctions to get to work, or you have a commute that's 15, 20 miles, even if you've got destination charging at work, it means that you'll never use the petrol engine apart from when you go on long road trips. And there is a school of thought, and Toyota were trying to spin this one recently to justify the fact they haven't made EVs and they're just starting to make plug-ins now, is actually they were saying that we can make more cars with a plug-in hybrid powertrain because the batteries are so much smaller, so we can make like 4 cars for every one of your Teslas, or 5 or 6 cars for every one of your Teslas, and actually most people will never use it in anything but EV mode apart from occasionally, and actually that does more things for the environment. It was a well crafted and it would appear logical argument, but you kind of hear it and go, oh, that kind of makes sense actually. Yeah, you can make more plug-in hybrids, smaller batteries, and then you realise they burn stuff, right? And so if you're burning stuff, you are adding to the problem, not making it better. If you can get an all-EV, and if not, if you're getting a plug-in hybrid, I get a feeling that there's a sophisticated argument to make for them, and there's probably some truth in that as well. In China, let's get on with the news and say that 55,829 battery electric vehicles and 14,000 plug-in hybrids were sold in May. The sales figures for NEVs, new energy vehicles, were lower than the same month last year, but of course they were coming out of a difficult time in China. But they were higher than in April earlier this year, as the Chinese EV market continues to recover, which is fabulous news, and it's good to see life after COVID is getting back to normal in a country like China that did indeed go through what the rest of the world is now going through before everyone else. The best-selling EV model once again last month in May was the Tesla Model 3. Congratulations, Tesla, for being number one in China once again. And 3 times as many last month in May sold as in April. Again, April was difficult. And don't forget as well, Tesla did lower the price of the Model 3 standard range at the end of April. That price drop kept it in the window for the Chinese subsidies. And what about the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3? They started delivering them, didn't they, around the end of May. Going to be looking forward to seeing the June figures for Tesla. Well, David Leggett, the automotive analyst at Global Data, said, and I quote, "This is the second consecutive monthly rise for the Chinese vehicle market as it rebounds from sharp declines in the first quarter caused by COVID-19. China was first into the crisis and first out of it, so developments in China's economy are being watched very carefully." Final story today on what is turning into a very long podcast. A government in the UK could announce a new scrappage scheme for only electric vehicles. This has been reported widely today. Motorists who do trade in, well, they're not trading in, they're scrapping. You go to buy a brand new EV and your old car will be crushed. It's scrapped. It's taken off the road. It can't be sold on, behind closed doors, whatever. It has to be, that's it. It's off the road. No more petrol and diesel for that car. Motorists who scrap an old petrol or diesel will get £6,000 off a new EV, and plans will be announced next month, early July, says the Telegraph newspaper. Those plans mirror what I've talked to you about on the podcast over the last week. Germany have a big stimulus package, 130 billion, and around the same amount as well to buy an EV. EV buyers there have a government-backed subsidy of €9,000. Same thing happening in France. And it could mean that the price of a Nissan Leaf built in Britain falls from £26,845 to £20,845. It would see the VW ID3 cost the same as the entry-level Golf. Our Prime Minister would also see the move as a positive break from UK manufacturing. Nissan Leaf, Sunderland, the Mini made in Oxford, making the all-new electric Mini in Oxford, says this is money. The price of a Nissan Leaf would drop to around £20,000, which puts it in Nissan Qashqai territory. The all-new Mini would fall to £18,500, the same as a petrol Mini Cooper. Well, Tesla's most affordable Model 3 would come down from around £40,000 to £34,000. That's the same as a BMW 3 Series Saloon mid-spec. And from what I understand, if it goes ahead, the incentives are stackable. So if you do have an old petrol or diesel that you do want to scrap and buy a brand new EV, you get that £6,000 off, and you would get the £3,000 plug-in car grant that we have. So that's £9,000 off the price of a new EV. Wow, that is mega. Clearly, the car industry generally are peed off about this. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, which is the lobby organisation funded by the car industry to speak on their behalf, have already written to our Chancellor to say, do not do this at the exclusion of petrol and diesel technology. In other words, don't favour EVs. But, who can blame them? That body exists to represent it's like a club. So that body has to represent their members. Their members sell petrol and diesel cars. So as disappointed as I am to see a trade body that I would like to be moving forward with positivity, I see that as a regressive step, simply doing the dirty work of the people that fund their bank account. It's understandable. It's what trade bodies do, so you can't blame them. Fiona Howarth, the chief executive of Octopus Electric Vehicles, said this, and I quote, "Consumers who want to switch to green driving can be put off by more expensive initial outlays for EVs compared to a petrol or diesel, but by reducing the cost, EVs become more affordable and dramatically increase the uptake." In 2019, around 100 people every day were losing their life because of air quality. The government can really make a difference and save lives by encouraging the switch to clean electric cars, end quote. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if the very, very powerful car industry in this country managed to wangle some way that you'll also get money off petrol and diesel cars. It would disappoint me, make me very sad, but I think that clearly, you're listening to an EV podcast, I do think that if you are incentivizing people to buy clean cars, make it EV only, or plug-in cars that do a certain distance on EV power only. Maybe we should make that as a question of the week soon. We asked you about incentives and subsidies a while ago, but it'd be good to update that. But a new question of the week for this week is this. How far do you think a plug-in hybrid needs to go on EV power only? Lots of plug-in hybrids arriving on the market this year. Lots of car makers seeing it as a way of reducing their overall CO2 emissions here in Europe, hitting their emissions targets and avoiding fines. So how far do you think a plug-in hybrid needs to go to be a respectable distance on EV power only? You can email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Well, thank you to 228 patrons of the podcast. Your generosity keeps this show on the air. 803 previous shows are in the archive. I'll leave them online for as long as the show is funded and its use as a resource. Wow, 803 shows in the archive. That is crazy, right? If you want to subscribe to the show, you are more than welcome to. It's free to download. The Patreon thing is totally optional, and it means that if you are a subscriber, which is a free subscription, it just notifies you in your podcast app or YouTube, and you get it first, you get it free, you get it automatically, and it's just easy. Premium partners of the show are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for Clean Tech Talent, Porsche of the Village Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, and now Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East. Have a wonderful day. Whatever you are up to, I'll catch you soon. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.